friends. Ooh, we are here for Flux with Friends, episode 7. We are going to be talking about growing up Mormon and what things are like crazy and true and what things are crazy and like not true. The stuff that's the craziest is probably not even the stuff that they're making rumors up about.
Right.
So I quit being Mormon.
Hi. We were next door neighbors growing up and best friends and having sleepovers all the time and going to church together.
Church every day.
Pretty much, because Mormons like to do early morning seminary, and we would ride together sometimes, and we'd go to school after because we were in the same high school. So yeah, we just like every day going, doing scripture study and temple trips and youth
Sunday,
activities.
And then Saturday.
Well, they keep you busy. They do like 1,500 activities all the time so that you don't have time to do anything else. That's just kind of how it goes, right?
It is.
Oh my gosh.
So I quit being Mormon when I was 17, so that would be 20 years ago. I can't believe it.
Wow.
And then, Jenny, when did you quit?
Oh gosh. I kind of bit the bullet 2 years ago, and it was kind of crazy because I am married. I've been married 14 years, have 5 kids, and my husband is still Mormon, and that was quite an ordeal for him. Especially because as I was kind of deconstructing and learning things and trying to figure out what I really felt about everything, I wasn't really telling him as I was going along. Like, I didn't really start to tell him till I'd already kind of processed and learned the things I needed to know. I think part of that is because, you know, if you express doubts in Mormonism,
Outer darkness.
Right, you're immediately met with like, oh, just remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that, and then it's just like all the love bombing and all the yeah, and I'm just like, I want to be able to sort this out on my own without someone like constantly telling me what to think or to remember to pray and stuff like that.
Right.
So, oh, look, someone joined. Indie Lymphatic Massa GE
Say hi.
joined. Hi.
Love you. We're talking about being Mormon. Do you have any questions about the Mormon stuff? I know I've talked so much with her about this anyway.
Right?
She's a soul sister.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jenny just quit 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago, quit being Mormon. Yeah, kind of, it's really traumatic actually, like for me anyways, because I was like in it to win it.
For me, like when I find out things like 20 years later, like I quit when I was 17, so, I mean, I thought there was so much weirdness happening then, and, I mean, when I was around 30, I started watching stuff that, like, you went through as, like, adults. There's whole other ceremonies.
Oh, gosh. Oh, God.
So I was traumatized, like, watching what the ceremonies were about for when you're an adult. Like, I was, like, grateful that I didn't have to go through that, but then I was also, like, kind of had, like, a survivor's guilt kind of feeling, too. I just felt, like, so sad, like all the way down to, like, my, like, it was just, like, a visceral, like, sadness for me. And then and then you can see why they have that, like, Mormon, like, stare. Like,
right.
Literally, it's, like, some, like, it's so traumatizing. You know what I mean? Like a
For me, the temple wasn't even traumatizing as so much as just anticlimactic. You know, like,
oh, really?
Just because it's honestly just like super boring.
Like, I remember, like, we did the baptisms for the dead.
Right.
I mean, I probably baptized like 1,000 dead people.
Oh my gosh,
in the cult jumpsuits.
Oh my god. Okay, my roommate and I would make weekly trips to the temple because I went to BYU.
Oh, really?
So, like, every week we were at the temple
doing baptisms. So how many do you think you've done?
Oh, who even knows?
50,000?
Probably. God, like, so many, because I, like, literally all the time went. And, you know, you're in Utah, so you can literally walk to a temple from pretty much anywhere, so...
Do they have any questions?
Someone says, I was raised outside the Catholic Church. I have different trauma. You should share your trauma with us. We love trauma dumping. Or at least I do. I don't know. I can't speak for you, I guess.
We're going to have another one of the Catholics. My mom actually was a Catholic, a good girl Catholic turned Mormon.
Hey, same with my mom.
Was she really?
Yeah, my mom went to Catholic school. My mom's name is Mary Josephine. She was definitely Catholic.
Yeah, my grandma's still Catholic. I still have family that's Catholic. I love to learn about, like, all the different religions, like, from a sociology point of view, because it just, like, helps you, like, at least understand or try to understand, like, where they're coming from. Like, maybe that's the autism thing, because I'm just, like, always trying to understand, like, what the heck people are trying to talk about. Like, I'm
right.
constantly misunderstanding people, especially in, like, text messages or emails.
Oh,
if
God.
somebody's trying to be, like, subtle or something, like, I don't understand what you, like, I've studied a lot of, like, micro expressions and stuff.
Yes.
So if I can, like, watch your face or hear it in your voice, it's better. Watching the face is easier. But, yeah, I don't understand. Like, I get things wrong all the time. And people get me all over. I'm, like, constantly offending people. Like,
yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Like, oops, I was like, that was supposed to be sweet. Like, why was that not sweet? Why was that not understanding?
So, like, as a neurodivergent person, did you find yourself just kind of, like, studying people to learn how to, like, interpret?
I've studied stuff, yes. Like,
yeah, me too.
Like, especially the micro expressions, I feel like was most helpful.
Yes.
Like, sometimes I can't understand. I'm like, is this person trying to, like, fuck with me or not? But then you see that little smirk, and I'm like, all right, game on, bitch.
Right, right.
Game on.
Yeah, no, like, that's so funny, like, because we talked last week, like, I'm not autistic, but I'm, like, so close, like, on the neurodivergent scale, and I remember just watching TV and stuff, I'm like, this is, like, my study session into, like, human behavior and how to actually interpret what people mean and what they're saying. I'm like, and then I learned, like, oh, normal people don't, like, study.
They just know.
They just know.
I think some of that also comes from, like, because we grew up in a cult, you know
right.
what I mean? So there's a lot of those similar characteristics where you're just trained to only look at this, don't look at that, only look at this, only look at this. We have, like, so much to talk about. We just watched, I just did, like, rewatch some of the cartoons that we watched as, like, children. Like, some of them have been, like, banned because, like, a lot of other religions, like, you know, as time progresses, they're like, oh, we changed our mind about that. Like, that's okay.
Right,
that's
right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how that got written in there. Da, 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 da.
There's a lot of things, like, something that I find so fascinating. Do you remember being taught that, like, we absolutely get our own planet?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, now the church is wanting to be like, no, Mormons don't teach you get your own planet. I'm like, the fuck
They
do?
did.
Like, yes, they do.
That was cool. I was cool with that until it got to the multiple wives thing.
Right.
That's when I was like, and doing laundry in heaven, like, no, you can keep your own heaven. That's literally what I said to my seminary teacher. I'm going to find a different heaven.
Right, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't even care about the multiple wives thing if it went both ways, but they're not all into polyandry.
That's what made me, so, like, I was just playing, like, devil's advocate. I'm just, like, naturally, like, a monogamous person. I don't like too many people, like, touching me and shit. Like, you know, I just, like, want, you know, I'm very particular with my energy and who I share it with.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see, especially if you get married, like, right outside of the right outside of college or during college, and then, like, that's just the only person and you haven't explored it. So I could definitely, like, you haven't dated multiple people. You haven't had, you know.
I haven't. I've kissed one person my whole life. Well, now two, because I had stage kiss, like, last month.
That was your second kiss ever?
My second kiss ever was my stage partner.
So I could definitely see how, if that would be an experience, why people, you know, would like the Secret Lives of Mormon wives, like, why they might be interested in swinging, and they're like, I could see where
because there was no wild days, like,
yeah, and then they'd just be like, okay, well, let's see, because we're just, like, in our little community.
Yeah.
Here on this channel, like, we like to really, like, learn and talk to people to try to understand where they're coming from and have conversations. We don't like to, like, demonize people. That's how you learn to understand people who have different beliefs than you, is having conversations. And I always like to try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. You know what I mean?
Same.
Would that be for me? No. But, you know, I could also see how somebody's life path events would lead them to, you know, want to explore that.
You know, I think that's, like, something that made sometimes some of the teachings in the church, like, especially about what's right, what's wrong, I think that's what made me more nuanced, is, like, I feel like a lot of really extremely religious people want to be very black and white with their thinking, and I literally have always been like, but it's gray. It's all gray. It's a giant puddle of gray.
I know.
Like,
Exactly.
a person's decisions are based on so much that are outside of your control. Yeah, and so, like, I feel like there would sometimes be, like, you know, I'd ask a question of, like, well, but why is that wrong? Like, you know, this person was only making this decision because blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, well, it's still wrong. I'm like, but... I'm like...
Book says this. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, that would keep me out. I'd be, like, the only person awake in seminary. Like, none of this makes sense. Like, I don't care. There's not... And, like, with the disc profiling test, I'm, like, a number 2 in compliance. So I'm just naturally, like, not gonna listen unless it makes sense. And then the autism on top of it, I'm like, if it doesn't make sense, you can have me repeat it 500 million times. I'm still gonna be like, guess what? It doesn't make sense. Like, the pathways do not connect.
Right. Well,
my
and then
brain doesn't do
right.
memorization like that. It's
well,
like, it does processes.
We were talking before, like, I'm a rule follower. So I'm just like, okay, this is what they tell me makes sense. So I need to, like, find a way to make it make sense.
And that would make sense, like, if, you know, if you were more, like, that's how your brain works.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then, like, then you just think, because I remember before I was quitting, I just thought there was something wrong with me. Like, why doesn't this make sense to me? Like, what is wrong with me? Like, there's something. And then eventually I'm like, it's not me, it's you.
Right.
It's not me, it's definitely you. So I was in seminary.
You figured it out before I did, so
I wonder if
good job on that.
I wonder if you were sleeping on this day. But the missionaries were in there, and when you're like a kid, and you know, because you're in high school. At
Missionaries are a thirst trap, okay?
Huh?
Missionaries are a thirst trap for little Mormon girls.
I don't know. Like,
they were for me.
Were they? You had a crush on the missionaries?
I was horny for missionaries.
Boy crazy for the missionaries.
I mean, like, I would have absolutely been a promiscuous little person if not for the church rules. I don't know, maybe it was a good thing I grew up Mormon.
It saved you.
It saved my soul.
I was just like, nah, I don't believe you. I was like, you guys really believe that? I never, no. I just thought that I was just confused, but, like, and I just always felt like I was smarter than them. And I was like,
I mean, you probably were.
I'm sure I was. Like, I'm like, dude, I don't believe you. But I just remember them seeming much more adult. Like, to think back, and I was probably like 16 and they were 18, but they just seemed more adult than they actually were.
Yeah.
A couple years. And they would, like, it was like a common thing. When we were like 15, 16, they would try to, like, introduce us to the missionaries in a way that, like, oh, like, meet this guy, like, he's gonna be off of his mission and so, and I was just like, no, thank you. No,
okay,
thank
fun
you.
story. Or maybe this might be too embarrassing.
Hi, curvy girl.
There was a missionary who I had such a crush on, and I knew he was gonna be going home soon. And I mean, God, I had to have been 18. I think I was like home from BYU. And I knew he lived in Utah, and so I, like, went over to their apartment and, like, hand-delivered him a letter. I kid you not.
Did you?
I for sure did. I handed him a letter telling him I liked him and would love to, like, connect.
Marry him in the temple and have 17
kids. I did not hear back from him, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that was probably a little strong.
Really? But they don't really teach you, like, proper, like, social skills for women. Like, you're just, like...
No.
Your social skills are, like, learn how to cook, clean...
And make lots of babies.
Dig a latrine. Do you remember
Girls'
that?
camp.
Girls' camp was, like, one of the most fun parts.
Girls' camp really was great.
I did find some pictures. I didn't find pictures... Well, the one picture that I put explaining that was us getting ready for girls' camp.
Oh, nice.
The ones with the braids
yes,
and we had the
braids.
popsicles.
Yeah, because we'd do braids because we wouldn't shower for like a whole week.
Yeah,
so
we would just like, I would like, you know, I got the curly hair, so I've always been able to do the cornrows and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
A piece of my face came off. Oh, I was going to ask you about there's like a green apron.
Oh, yeah, so the temple, you're taught that you're going to learn all these great, new, wonderful principles. It is just the Adam and Eve story with Masonic handshakes put in. And you play dress up with, like, the weirdest looking clothes ever.
They're like, it's like white pilgrim clothes and like a leaf apron,
it's like
right?
a robe you wear over one shoulder and, like, a green apron to represent the fig leaves that Adam and Eve get in the garden. Now, the women don't veil their faces anymore, but they used to veil their faces, and you'd, like, get in a circle and, like, pray together.
Okay.
And do, like, all the different hand signals.
I bet our moms did that.
Oh, yeah. Well, gosh. Okay, so speaking of our moms, like, there used to be a time where they had, like, the penalties where you'd, like, swear to, like, cut your throat or disembowel yourself.
What?
Yeah,
What?
they took that out, I think, like, in the 70s.
So it was like
or
straight
80s.
up, just word for word, pretty much like the Masonic thing.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
they just,
because
like...
the penalties, like, the oaths and penalties used to be, like, you promised that if you ever revealed this stuff, like, that it'd be better for you to just, like, die on the spot, basically. Like, to just
kill yourself. Like, yeah, super, super. I'm sure Jesus would love that.
Yeah, so that was not part of it by the time I went in. And, you know, stuff has changed throughout the years, and it's, like, shorter now than even when I went in.
Stage 1. Repeat. My throat be cut from ear to ear, and my tongue torn out by its roots. Stage 2. Repeat. Our breasts be torn open, our hearts and vitals torn out. Stage 3. Repeat. Our body be cut asunder and all your bowels gush out. While placing the right hand palm down with the thumb extended and the tip of the thumb on the left of the torso, just above the left hip. Then draw the thumb across the stomach until the thumb was just above the right hip, and the arm was dropped to the side of the body.
And so, like, they've changed things even now. Like, women don't veil their faces anymore, where women used to veil their faces. They don't do that anymore.
I noticed when I looked up the temple garments, like, I remember when I was a child, like, my mom's temple garments, they would come to, like, here. Like, they would come all the way to, like, your elbow. And now they're, like, little cap sleeves or something.
I mean,
like
my
that.
parents were always, like, the cap sleeves.
Really? My mom's are
Yeah.
always down to their elbow.
Well, you know what? They have different styles, though, because they sometimes
okay.
have some that are, like, for, like, winter time and are a little longer.
Oh,
and then they
okay.
have, like, you know... Although, they, like, literally just came out with kind of almost tank top garments. Not quite tank top, but kind of just, like, sleeveless. I guess they were released for, like, members that live in warm climates. Like, because, you know, it's a worldwide religion now. But I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, are they going to, like, say that... How are they going to put restrictions on that? Like, to be from a certain country? I don't know. I'm very curious about that.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, like, the different country thing, this was the moment that I decided to, like, stop being Mormon. So we're in seminary. The first year I did it, we did the Old Testament. The second year we did New Testament. Okay, cool, whatever. Then the third year, this is the year I quit, was, like, the Book of Mormon, right? We learned about the planet Kolob. Cool, we're going to get our own planet. Da-da-da. Then it got to the part about, like, polygamy, right?
Oh, so that's Doctrine and Covenants, then.
Was it?
Yeah, because Book of Mormon doesn't go into that stuff.
But I know it was, like, my third, or maybe...
Because Doctrine, Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price go into more of, like, the whole Joseph Smith and some of those weirder things. Like,
okay, so maybe I quit at the beginning of that. Then I think I did do the entire Book of Mormon one.
Probably.
So then I must have quit, like, the beginning of my senior year. I was 17, so that would make more sense. And they're telling us, you know... And I'm just, like, playing devil's advocate because I just want to understand, like, why, if it's not like this, why is it like this? You know, like, logic. My brain likes logic and processes and stuff. Make it make sense. And so they're talking about, like, the plural marriage, and you have to be in plural marriage to get to the highest level of heaven. So there's, like, the celestial kingdom's the highest.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's, like, the highest level in the celestial.
Yeah, there's, like, 3 levels inside the highest.
Right,
and
yeah.
you only get the top if you're married in the temple.
And you have to be polygamous, too, right?
It's, like... It's one of those... Well, according to the law of polygamy, like, it's an eternal law. And it's, like, even though you can't do it here on Earth...
You'll be sent wives.
Yeah,
you'll get other wives.
You'll be given wives.
It's very close to,
heaven.
like, Mormon and stuff. Or Muslim. It's actually the closest type of, like, religion to... I feel like they...
I mean, they're all Abrahamic, right? So.
Yeah, I feel like Joseph Smith was, like, Masonic, Muslim, and Christianity, and mixed it together.
I mean, I think Joseph Smith just wanted to get around.
Right? God told me I need to have sex with your wife.
Okay,
like, that's literally how it happened.
Like, legit, like, he had wives that were already married to other men, and, like, he had, like, I think his youngest wife was a 14-year-old girl, and, like, here's my thing. I honestly don't care who sleeps with who. Like, I'm all for that. Like,
right,
if you want to go
but not
sleep with
children.
People, that's totally fine. But, like, Joseph Smith would do this thing where, like, he would give the girls kind of, like, almost an ultimatum. He's like, God commanded me to extend this offer for you to be my wife in secret, but don't tell anyone. And if you don't, you're risking eternal happiness and your eternal reward. And an angel with a flaming sword appeared to me and says that I'll be destroyed if you don't say yes. And I'm like,
So he was actually
that's like...
So the
awful.
FLDS guy was actually more like Joseph Smith than the actual LDS.
Yes.
So he was actually more true to the Joseph Smith vision.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, And that's the thing that didn't hit me until I finally started learning and doing more research, is that, you know, because the church today, the big draw is like, oh, well, you know, that was back in the day, that was blah, 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 this is it now, and I'm sitting here.
It's literally in your book.
When I was growing up, you weren't taught that Joseph Smith was polygamous. You were taught that Brigham Young, like, really is the one that, like, instituted this, that Joseph Smith, like, begrudgingly did a little bit of polygamy.
Yeah, they just kind of, like...
Yeah, they told us... DNC 132, but he was doing it before DNC 132.
Yeah, I remember being told that he did it because they had to, because when they traveled to Utah, that people's husbands were dying. Yes. And that, like, that was literally in some cassette tapes that we listened to.
Poor little women folk need someone.
Somebody's got to take care of them and the kid. And that's the only reason it started. I didn't even learn till after I stopped being Mormon years later that there was even polygamy with Joseph Smith. We didn't even hear that. Like, literally, I remember listening to tapes, like, on family trips. And none of that was in any of that. Like, they just
No, because they glossed over it. And, like... anyone who would bring it up would get into trouble, like, and people would get, like, excommunicated. And it's funny because, like, I don't know, it was probably, like, 10, 13 years ago, the church released these gospel topics essays on the church's website, openly talk about Joseph Smith polygamy, and, like, the fact that he translated the Book of Mormon with a rock and a hat, as opposed to, like, you know, looking at the plates in front of him.
Wasn't there Urim and the Thummim or something? It was, like, these shiny crystals he was supposed to look into.
It was supposedly, they were supposed to be kind of, like, glasses is kind of always how I had it described to me.
I thought they were like two crystals. I remember like having something in church school where they're like examples and they were almost like geodes.
Maybe. Like, I remember the first time hearing both about Joseph Smith's polygamy and learning about the Rock and the Hat was like reading a non-Mormon, that's what it was, reading a non-Mormon biography of Joseph Smith when I was in high school. And that was also the first time I learned that he did like treasure digging, like, and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, they probably just have it wrong. I'm just gonna, like, forget about that and never read about Joseph Smith again. And that's, like, basically what I did. For, like, I just...
Well, yeah, it's
hard. I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable, so I just didn't even touch it for, like, years.
Because it's like you're, like, questioning your entire existence. You know what I mean?
And
like,
I didn't want to question my existence.
Right.
I wanted to be with my family forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. You can be with your family forever in Mormonism, but only if you go to the temple and follow all the rules. Otherwise, you don't get to be with your family together forever.
And then you have to be in outer darkness, which is worse than hell.
No, outer darkness... Actually, no, outer darkness is for, like, people who, like, know. See, in the lower two kingdoms of heaven, you're not related to anyone, and, like, you don't even really know them.
We're doing a Flux with friends. This is my childhood best friend.
Hola, I'm Jenny.
We grew up together Mormon, and I quit when I was 17, and she quit 2 years ago at 35. She was going for the gold. She was
going 35 now, so I was like 33.
33. I feel like 33 is like an age of like reckoning, like with all of that kind of stuff. Like 30 to 33.
Number, so
do you have any... 33 is a very magic number. Do you have any questions about Mormonism for me and my friend Jenny, Mr. Sam?
Yeah, seriously, put it in the chat. I will answer
Put it in
anything.
the chat. Put it in the chat. She's got like a totally different perspective and stuff. Like she actually, you've done like all the ceremonies, right?
Oh yeah. And I went to BYU, and dude, I was in it to win it. I really, cause like I had a brother die before I was born, and I always felt really, really close to him.
Mm-hmm.
And like I still do feel really close to him. Like I'm really close to his spirit, and like so for me, I'm like I don't want to risk anything that's going to put, like, my eternal salvation in jeopardy, because I want to be with my family forever. So I'm going to pay 10% of my money, and I'm going to follow all the rules so I can go to the temple and be in the highest degree of glory in heaven and be with my family forever. So, yes, you can be with your family forever, but only after paying 10% of your money for your whole life.
Every month.
And following all the rules.
Yeah, there's, like, so many rules. There's so many rules.
You can't drink coffee. You
have
to multiply and replenish the earth, but not have coffee to cope with all the babies.
Maybe that's another reason why I don't want to have kids. I'm not trying to do nothing. Nothing that the freaking Mormon church tell me. I'm not getting married. I'm not having kids. I'm going to drink coffee. I'm going to have sex before marriage. I'm going to drink alcohol. Let's do some drugs. Throw some drugs in there. What do I got to do? Yeah, when I was trying to quit, it started, because I wanted to get kicked out, it started with me, like, coming in with the Starbucks Frappuccino, like, very bad. Like, shut Shut up. Cancel you. Cancel you. You're going to soon get pregnant, Sam.
I have 5 kids, so I like to tell people who don't want kids, I'm like, it's okay. I covered my 2.5 and your 2.5.
Thank you. She already did it for me. This is my baby mama. Yeah, if I want to have another kid, we have a kid, you get unlimited body sculpting. You want my baby mama? She's going to be my oven. So yeah, I was talking about like what made me quit, right? So we're in seminary, Doctrine and Covenants, I guess we've discovered that was the beginning of that. But literally I quit like right after that. And so they're telling us, okay, well, it's like a loophole. Like, you have to, like, obey the laws of the land, so you're not allowed to have polygamy. And I always had the question, like, okay, so in other countries, like Muslim countries, are they allowed to be polygamous because they're still obeying the law of the land and they're allowed to? I don't know how all that worked, but it's something I've thought about, like, over the years and stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. So polyamorous, that means I get multiple husbands too, right? And no. That's just for the men. And I was like, okay. So then I get like a girlfriend from one of the wives, right? Like I can have a girlfriend. And oh no. Being gay is like outer darkness.
Premarital sex is a sin next to murder.
Really?
Yeah, and
what?
So yes, premarital sex or sex outside of marriage is a sin second only to murder. And so since gay marriage isn't recognized in the LDS church, that's also a sin next to murder.
Okay, really?
I don't know, maybe a kiss or some hand holding, but like sex would be like
I'm a serial killer, y'all. I'm a serial killer.
You're a serial killer.
Oh my gosh. So then I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then she was like, well, you should just be grateful that you have other women to share your heavenly duties with. Hold up, wait, what? Heavenly duties? So you're telling me that in your version of heaven, I gotta do laundry? I'm out. I'm done.
Honestly,
I'm gonna find a new heaven.
Mood. Because I was sitting there like, this sounds like a lot of work. If I die, I don't want to have more work. I would be done.
I would be done. Send me to outer darkness if I gotta do laundry.
Dead, okay?
Send me to outer darkness.
I did my work. That's why I died.
Yeah, most people that I know that have left the church, like, it really is, like, you have to accept, I'd rather go to hell than be in your version of heaven. Yeah. Send me to hell. Like, it's literally that bad. Like, listen, I've been in hell on earth. It's called church here with most of you. So I'll take my chances. Somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't want to have eternal babies. I'm good.
Oh, yeah, you gotta keep having the babies, too.
Oh, yeah. Gotta pump them out. Gotta fill those new planets that they say we don't actually get anymore.
Oh, you don't get the planets. We used to get planets.
They say you don't. Okay, and this is like such a funny argument I've had with my husband, because like I definitely was taught that we get our own planet.
Yes.
You remember that?
I remember this.
Like, there's literally manuals that say, like...
From the Star Collab!
That you get your own world, like, in the Celestial Kingdom.
And you can have multiple worlds.
You get to be a god now, too.
Yeah, I thought with the guys, like, the guys got to have their own, like, star, and then each of their wives would have a planet. Wasn't that a thing?
I don't even know. Like, and here's the thing. Like, they definitely taught, like... They don't have the dirty details, right? But they definitely taught that you get to become gods and rule your own worlds. And, like, so I brought that up with my husband. I'm like, okay, because now if you ask, because since the Book of Mormon musical came out, and, they've got that song that says, I believe I'll get my own planet. So, like, people ask, do Mormons believe they get their own planet? And the church has, like, edited their answer to, like, cut out anything that says yes. And so they just said, no, we don't know that we've ever really taught that. And I'm like, bullcrap. I was taught that in primary.
He is saying, in essence, if you choose to follow my son, if your desire is really to become more like him, then in time you may live as we live and preside over worlds and kingdoms as we do.
Yeah, I remember being a kid. Was it in your, like, do you still have, like, your...
I saw my scriptures.
Wouldn't it be in there?
I don't know that it's expressly said, because honestly, I haven't read the scriptures in a long time. Like, not for a couple years. But, like, it's funny because my husband, he's like, no, you don't get your own planet. I'm like, we're told we get to rule over our own worlds. He goes, yeah, your own worlds. I'm like, planet and world is the same thing.
We totally got planets.
He's like, it's not the same thing. I'm like, planet and world is the same thing.
So have you had him watch the old cartoons that we watched when we were kids?
I don't think he. Oh, well, you mean like
Because
the
they were made by the
ones?
Mormon church. Like the one that I sent you and Steven.
That one's not made by the church. That one's God Makers. And it's like...
Oh, okay.
It's got like some elements of truth, and it's got some things that are just kind of like made up, which I kind of hate when that happens, because then I feel like it gives church members a reason not to trust anything.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. Because, like, honestly, that was one of my problems for a long time. There would be people who would try to, like, show me stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's, like, not even close to true. And so, like, I had a hard time even looking outside, because you're taught, like, outside of what we teach you in church. Like, people are just attacking. They're just lying. And so, yeah, no. They really have a lot of thought-stopping techniques to keep you from practicing critical thinking skills to deal with all the cognitive dissonance you come across in life.
Yeah, I've always been very grateful that, like, it was so abstract, you know what I mean? Because if it was, like, a normal Christian thing, it would have definitely been, like, easier to believe, you know?
Yes.
Like, it would have been so much easier, but, like, especially, you know, even the Book of Mormon, I was like, oh, okay, because the Book of Mormon does kind of, like, mirror the Bible a bit. It's just, like, the Bible in America, like, Jesus comes to America and stuff.
Basically.
But now it's making sense, because I was 17, and that's the part where I quit. And it was probably at the beginning, because it's Dr. Covenants and then Pearl of Great Price.
Because that goes more into, like, the modern church teachings and, like, kind of the life of Joseph Smith establishing the church. And, like, yeah, I loved the Book of Mormon. I think the Doctrine and Covenants and Pearl of Great Price, I was like, this stuff's really weird and I don't like it, so I'm just gonna, like...
So when did he write those? Did he find those in a hat, too?
No, that's just his own stuff, like his continuing revelations, like, nope, that one wasn't in a hat. The Book of Mormon was supposedly translated, but the Doctrine and Covenants and Pearl of Great Price is its own little thing.
Was, like, downloaded
we don't
or something?
even get... Book of Abraham's its own little thing.
Okay, so I didn't read any of that, but like me and Steven were talking about it one time when we were talking about doing this. Steven's my editor now.
Yeah.
So he was editing some of my other videos, and I was like, oh man, I really want to do like Mormon, like an ex-Mormon one, because he was in it a lot longer. It's so much easier for guys to stay in it because they get like everything, and women are like slaves.
All the privileges. All the best activities, like...
They got to do way more fun things.
They got to do really fun stuff, and I just, like, got to learn how to give a baby a bath and how to bake apple pie. Like...
We got to do fun stuff at girls' camp.
Yeah,
like,
that's, like, the only time.
I dug what do you call it? I remember one time we went to girls' camp, and it was crazy because it was, like, everybody else was partying, but it wasn't, like, party... Like, I mean, it's, like, a sober party, right? And dilly-dallying. They were dilly-dallying around. And I was like, dude, this smells like rain. And I see the leaves are flipped over, right? Because I would still do all of, like, the Eagle Scout stuff. Because that stuff was, like, more fun. And so I faced my tent, like, going down the hill. And then I dug a little trench. And all these girls were, like, making fun of me. Like, what are you doing? Come cook some eggs or whatever. We were making these, like little eggs inside. What are the eggs in a basket?
Yeah.
Those are still great.
I love those.
And, so I'm getting all dirty and I remember like yesterday, like as soon as I got done digging this trench and I dug like things for it to like drain down the hill, it started pouring down rain and everybody was trying to get in my tent. I was like, no.
You're like, I just did this
and
work.
I'm pretty sure there was a Bible story about that.
Right?
I remember telling them a Bible story. No, this is your lesson. I was still bossy then. This is where you should have learned from this and this lesson that you should have taken care of, like a ant and the cricket kind of thing. But it was like there was like a Bible thing about that, like preparing for stuff. I just don't remember what it was. But at that time, I mean, we would like race to read scripture.
Oh no, you're probably thinking of like the Parable of the 10 Virgins, right?
What's that? Tell us about that.
It's like there's 10 virgins and like 5 have oil in their lamps and 5 don't, and they're waiting for the wedding, and so those who didn't have oil for their lamps couldn't light their lamps, and it got dark, and they're like, share your oil with us, and they're like, we can't share our oil because then we wouldn't have enough for our lamps.
Yes, that's exactly what I told them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I told them.
That's the story you're thinking of. I had to think for a second.
I was like, I know I quoted a Bible story to them.
Yeah, nope, it was probably that one.
I was like, no, this is your lesson to be learned. And some people had like hammocks in a tent. Especially all of them were making fun of me. I was like, we'll see. We will see. We will see who's laughing. And I had like a radio. Like my shit was pimped out. I had a light in there. Everybody's getting rained on. I'm just listening to the radio. Reading a book. Make better life choices, ladies. Make better life choices.
Dig your trenches.
Dig your trenches.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
And we learned how to do the water witching. Do you remember the water witching? We had to go find the water. Like with
you had to, sticks?
Yeah, you had to find a stick and then like it would turn.
Yeah.
Did you guys do that?
No, but that sounds fun.
It does sound fun. I was just talking to my friend about that the other day because I was having like plumbing issues. I had to get a new toilet, and she was like, "I got these dowsing rods. We can come see."
Nice.
I was like, "Or I don't have time for all that. That sounds fun, but let's just call a plumber. How about that?" If the plumber doesn't work, maybe we can try that.
Right.
But it was so cool because we just went and like found water like in the middle of like a field, kind of at the bottom, and then like. We dug, and then there was like a well of water that was coming up.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I
we
wish
didn't do that.
I wish I would have like kept practicing that.
We learned how to start fires with batteries and steel wool.
What? I don't remember that. I don't
Yeah.
remember either.
Yeah, like we took like I think two D-cell batteries, put them together and like connected the steel wool to make the circuit and light the kindling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen that where people do
we
that
had to know,
with like
three
an
ways
apple.
to start a fire.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I had there was like the flint.
There was flint.
The sticks.
There's also a magnifying glass in the sun is one we used, and the batteries and steel wool is one we used.
And I think I used a string and a stick.
Yeah. Which that one's really hard to do unless you like really have it set up good.
And we had to do all the different the log cabin fire to cook on.
Yes.
We had to do all the different
fire
types of fires. And like I remember like we would always like mud wrestle.
Yeah.
During
oh my gosh.
during girls camp.
I probably have a picture of you somewhere.
I have a
After
picture.
mud wrestling.
I found pictures of me mud wrestling, but I couldn't find them with you in it. So
that's because you were older than me, so you guys did that, and I wasn't part of that one.
And we learned synchronized swimming.
Oh my god, that's so fun.
That was a fun one. Swing dancing. We learned swing dancing. We learned ballroom dancing too, I think, but most people were doing the swing dancing because it was more fun, and we like to do like flips and spins and stuff.
You did fun stuff.
You didn't do the swing dancing?
No, not that I remember anyways.
What? It was like huge. And it was interesting because there was a lot of like brothers and sisters who would swing dance together because they're practicing.
Like church dances?
Yeah.
I thought we were still talking about girls camp.
Maybe I'm ADHD. We were talking about 700 things.
You like switched directions on me, and I'm like, wait, what?
Well, I got because of synchronized swimming.
Oh,
That was like dancing underwater.
Sense.
We had
That makes
synchronized swimming like.
I follow the stream. I follow the stream of consciousness.
Over here, over there. And
No,
then there
I
was a
was
bunch
like
of
a
people.
wallflower at dances. I would just like I didn't want to go because like I didn't get asked to dance ever, and I was really self-conscious, and I didn't know how to act because I felt like I wasn't righteous or cool enough to be with like most of the people. Like, well, I was righteous enough, but like I don't know. Like I felt like so nuanced in my beliefs. Like I don't know. I didn't feel like I really fit in anywhere, and I felt so awkward and self-conscious. So I would just like take my homework and like do my homework at the dances.
Really?
I did.
Me and Chelsea would like we would record like dances on a VHS tape for like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera.
Oh my gosh, I remember learning like the crazy dance move with you.
Yeah,
like,
I was like
crazy.
obsessed.
Yeah. I remember you had that, and I would occasionally come over and we'd learn the dance moves.
I'm gonna play it over and over. And then when Shakira came out,
Shakira.
I got like a bunch of belly dance DVDs, so we were doing those.
I love that.
And so I'm up here at a Mormon church dance, and we're doing like the most. Like even as like an adult in my 20s, when my brain wasn't fully formed and I was wild in Miami, like I mean, I would not have probably done those moves there. And I was doing this at a Mormon church dance.
Well,
like when you're like,
you were trying to get kicked out.
This was before I was trying to get kicked out. I was just having fun. This was like what I think maybe like the year leading up to it. So I was having the spicy feelings trying to get kicked out. And then when the Starbucks wasn't enough, then I would just one of my friends, she ended up like having sex with a bunch of people, and like bad things happened to her with that. So I was like definitely didn't want to go that way. So I started doing like drugs. I started eating like mushrooms and acid and cocaine, like whatever, and then coming to church. And I'd be like, I love you guys so much. Pupils huge, rolling like ass off. Actually, I came to your brother Kyle's, no, was it Kyle or Jason's? It was one of their, I think it was Kyle's coming home party, and I had ate a bunch of mushrooms.
It was probably Kyle's.
Yeah, I ate a bunch of mushrooms. I was tripping.
Kyle's closer to your age.
Hi. Yeah, it was Kyle's coming home party. I was tripping balls. And then I just remember, like, coming home that night, and my dad would just be mad about things sometimes. He's, you know, got that going on. So he was mad about, like, I don't even remember what he was mad about, because I was literally just over at my Mormon neighbors. He was just mad to be mad. And I was tripping balls, and his face turned into, like, the wolf from The Mask, and he's like, rah, 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 rah.
So, like, almost comical. Like,
and I'm just trying not to laugh because I know he's so mad, and I don't want to get my ass beat. Like try not to laugh. Can I just go downstairs? I'll do some laundry. I'll clean. Like, what do you want? Just please stop talking to me right now. I had a lot of fun doing drugs at church, actually.
Doing drugs at church?
Like, I didn't do them there, but I would do them and then come to church.
I remember we smoked weed once in your bedroom.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And then I felt so guilty about it. I don't even think I talked to you for like 2 months.
Really? She's the devil.
Tell you what, though, I was like, that was like such a fun experience until I felt really guilty about it.
It was a good time. Free yourself of the guilt. I know I had this one, because the missionaries would try to, like, recruit me again until I was, like, 30. And then somebody was like, later, I mean, just a couple years ago, it was like, oh, they probably stopped coming over because, like, you know, you're not going to be able to have, like, enough kids. I was like,
maybe they figured you're a lost cause now.
What?
It
makes sense. Cool. They
finally
leave
leave
me alone.
30s.
Yes, I'm an old maid now. I'm an old maid. Because they want you to start having kids at, like, 16,
oh, gosh.
18.
Yeah, they don't want, well, not 16, but they don't, because you're not even allowed to date till you're 16.
Well, I thought, like, in Utah, I saw that on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, a lot of them got married at, like, 16.
Well, okay, a lot of those ladies were, like, already out having sex and partying, and got pregnant, and so then they got married.
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes more sense. Like, yeah.
They got married because they got knocked up.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Oh.
Although,
I was like, oh, that was arranged.
Grooming is alive and well amongst all of society, but especially within Christianity and Mormonism. So
yeah, I feel like people would try to do, like, it's like a subtle arranged marriage, right? Like, they'll try to, like, put you together. They, like, kind of, like, lightly push you. And I'm just like, no.
Oh, they always be trying to set you up. They're always asking about whether you're dating.
What about this one? What about that guy?
When you're gonna have kids.
When are you gonna have kids? How many kids do you want?
Yeah, and if you have kids, if you're gonna have more, they don't stop asking if you're gonna have more kids until you have like 4 or 5 of them, and then they're finally like, oh, okay, and they don't ask anymore. So
really?
That's nice.
I remember that there was ladies and they were like competing to have children. Like, there was a few families, and it was just, like, once somebody had, like, 5 kids, and somebody wants to have, like, 6, and then the next one would have... And it was almost like they felt like a...
I mean, you can't let someone else outdo you.
Right, exactly. How did you know 5 was enough?
My blood pressure is broken now, so... Joseph got snipped last year.
Yeah, you said you lost 7 pounds
the
first time?
Yeah, and then I, like, ate a crap ton of food, so that wasn't helpful. But... The process worked.
And, you know, and like you said, you're doing better since then because you realized what you did. You know, you realized what you did.
Yeah, I was super stressed.
Yeah, it didn't ruin, like, all of your results, but now you're like, okay, like,
my
I don't
muscles
feel like when you motivate
are better
this.
Engaged. And, like, I'm stronger. Like, the core is stronger, which is really great.
Yeah, it's crazy how much that you've lost off of your arms, and we haven't even fluxed those yet.
I know. That's kind of crazy.
When we have, like, the trouble areas, like when there's, like, loose skin or the diastasis or something, you know, like, we can literally not work on other parts of the body, but they will get, like, better looking faster just because they're not in, like, a, you know, injured condition.
Right.
When it's injured, it needs more tender love and care.
Well, and this area had all those Mormon babies, so it definitely needs some tender love and care.
Now, do your kiddos still go to church? Are any of them still Mormon?
So my oldest kid is non-binary and pansexual.
Wow, interesting.
So they don't really believe, but they still have friends at church, so they'll still go sometimes.
Okay.
They don't go a lot on Sundays necessarily, but they like to go for the activities.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, with our kids, like, it's kind of hit and miss. Like, the babies go with Joseph to church. Like, he takes them to church. They play with their friends. They have a fun time. The older kids, like, we kind of just let them choose whether they go. So sometimes they go and sometimes they stay home. And it's just kind of depending on what they want. So.
Now, does he try to, like, reconvert you, or?
Like, he sometimes will, like, send me a little article or be like, well, you know, I was thinking about this topic here, and you know, sharing some of his insights or why he does believe. I'm like, that's great.
Like, you don't even try to have a conversation with
I'm
him?
just like, I don't really care, though. I've, like, devoted so much of my time to the church, like, literally my whole life has been all, like, does this choice line up with getting me eternal salvation? Does this choice matter for eternity? Like, should I do this? You know? And now I'm like, I'm free, and I can do what I want simply because I like it, and simply because it brings me joy, and I don't have to think about whether or not it leads me closer to Jesus, because I don't even believe in him. And I don't know. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm just kind of done with religion at the moment, and so no, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm glad you believe, honey. I don't care.
Right?
Yeah.
That's fine. I love you. That's cute. Yeah, I went through, like, I mean, I read, like, the Quran. I went to, like, all these different Christian churches, because, like, you really think that you're gonna, like, go to hell. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to figure out how to, like, not go to hell for a while. And then I was, like, non-spiritual or religious until I went to jail for a DUI. And then, like, I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and then I just, like, something came to me and was just like, okay, say a prayer. And then I said a prayer, and instantly in my mind, I was like, oh, like, my mom's job is in this phone book right here, because I was in a different county. And then I called him, and then, like, luckily, the lady who answered the phone had also just gotten a DUI. So she answered the jail call, and I had to, like, be, Mom, I'm in jail, help! Like, and then I realized at that time that I was like, okay, you know, obviously I don't need a middleman to talk to God, like a lot of, like, religions, and, like, you know, the Mormons teach, like, you know, not only a middleman, but it has to be a man, and not just a man, a man who's got the priesthood and all that, And I always knew in my heart that was not right. So I was like, okay, well, I can just talk to God. Like, I can open this door. And I realized that I had shut the door on God. But I really, feel like I needed that, like, hangman time experience to, like, detox my brain to even figure out
you have to deconstruct completely before you can build back up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's still a long journey. I mean, like, I remember when I was, like, living in Miami this last time. I mean, I was 30, and, like, certain documentaries were coming up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, that totally makes sense. I can't believe that's what that really was.
Right.
Ooh, time is up for me. Jenny's got a little bit longer, but oh my gosh, we could talk for hours. So let me know if you guys have any questions, because we're definitely gonna do another one. Jenny comes in once a week to get fluxed, so we might just do a once a week flux with friends. Who knows?
Woo-woo.
Would that be fun? Would you want to do that?
Ooh, let's do it.
That way I can get
I don't like talking.
That way I can get my flux in too. Okay, bye guys.
Bye-bye.